On the very edge of the realm of man is a place where eternity and darkness converge. The sun doesn't shine and the moon doesn't rise. This place is basically a prison for one exiled magician from a world long forgotten. This was the home of Severus, now an aged man, with long gray hair, a crooked hunched back, and a blank gaze that looked as though he didn't see a thing. Although his body is old and frail, he is unable to leave this world and move on to the next one. He was condemned to this place, banished in disgrace, and he vowed to get his revenge. It wasn't always like this, though. Nearly 1,000 years ago, when he was a young man in his early 20s, he was studying magic at the Mages College in the Kingdom of Gloucester. Over the next 20 years, he worked his way up from apprentice to Archmage of Gloucester, joining the World Council of Archmages. With it, he was allowed access to the biggest archive ever created, one filled with everything involving magic, including lost and forbidden. Of course, even the archmages weren't allowed to look at the forbidden magic, never mind write it down, study it, and eventually learn to cast it. Which was what Severus did. Over the next 10 years, he slowly made copies of everything in the library and brought them to his lair. In that time he also learned to cast hundreds of forbidden spells, becoming the world's greatest dark mage. He really never planned to do anything bad with the knowledge and power he gained, but it was all so fascinating that he couldn't stop studying them and eventually improving them. Well, one day a new book was added to the forbidden section, and he just had to read it and add a copy to his collection. Like usual, he'd sneak into the forbidden area and steal the book, and normally he'd hide away in the back where no one would see him. This time, however, he was caught by a fellow archmage, and soon enough he was reported. From there the council found out about his dark studies and removed his title as archmage, and not long after a trial was set to decide his punishments. Once he was found guilty, the council decided death was too easy of a punishment. Instead, they cursed him by giving him eternal life and binding his body to his personal lair and library for all eternity. There he was stuck for the next 1,000 years. His body continued to age, but he could not die, so it became frailer and weaker with each passing year. Now he sits alone in the dark chambers of his prison, surrounded by hundreds of mystical books. He slowly moved towards the weapon he had been creating for his revenge. He may be an old man now, but his eyes burned as brightly as the first day he was sentenced here. All of his strength, wisdom, and knowledge, he had directed it to one thing. Many years casting spells with old wrinkly hands, all for this. He sinks to the bottom of his chair as the moment he's waited all this time for has come. Disregarding all teachings of light magics and throwing a lasso into the unknowns of the dark world, he managed to retrieve a skeleton of an old unknown titan that seemed to be a type of dragon. Alas, though, it was the remains of a great beast and not an actual one. In a fit of rage, Severus smashed a ton of his things around the skeleton and slowly crept on the verge of full-blown insanity. That's when he was graced with inspiration. He knew exactly how to use the remains. The Titan may have passed, but its DNA was still present, almost as if it were immortal, and soon it would be flesh again. Severus got to work using dark arts, using magic so forbidden that even monsters in the night would be terrified. Even demons hiding in the darkness would retreat in his presence. After a day, though, it wouldn't matter how far they fled. Unprecedented forces gathered before him, and with it, blood appeared out of a living fire. Around it, different masses of flesh appeared, forming together and creating a giant monolith. Using his magic, he was able to shape the monolith and create a massive dragon egg. Inside of this egg, he created a living creature, with working organs, and covered in armored plates. Severus was excited and couldn't help but imagine the creature that would be inside. A monstrous beast, with diamond-sharp claws and teeth, breath burning with the heat of napalm, something that no magician could stop. Severus laughed through his old chapped lips. He knew full well what he was creating. He could feel the chaos from his soul calling out to his creation. This dragon would be his vessel for revenge. He remembered an old prophecy he read about the end of the world. It spoke of Armageddon. That was the perfect name for his creation and soon-to-be new body. Severus cast the last spell his old failing body would ever cast and transferred his soul, magical powers, and extensive knowledge into the dragon sleeping in the giant egg. For many years Armageddon lay dormant as it grew inside the egg. Once its body had matured and was capable of handling all it inherited from Severus, it woke. With one powerful burst of magic, it shattered the egg across the library. From the egg stepped a massive 15-foot dragon. One with massive wings that stretched out 10 feet in either direction. A long 10-foot tail ran from Armageddon's but onto the ground and sat on the ground by 3 feet. Massive horns poked out of Armageddon's head, and scales covered her from toes to thighs and wrists to upper arms. All things the mage Severus had expected, but he hadn't been all that knowledgeable about dragons, as he had created a female dragon instead of a male one. Armageddon was created as a female, so that meant she had all the typical female-born features: a chest that poked out, a curvy body, long hair, you name it. Armageddon could feel Severus's soul inside her, and she had all of his memories, but for some reason, she wasn't entirely him. She looked herself over. She remembered being in Severus's body, but she felt so right in this body. It seems the soul of the dragon and its natural instincts had overpowered the wizard, and instead of Severus completely taking over, they had merged into a new being entirely. Armageddon was the best of both, a powerful titan and a master mage of the dark arts. Even better than that, with Severus's body gone, she was no longer bound to this place, although it seemed she was still cursed with eternal life, but with a body that doesn't really age, it was now less of a curse. Using magic, Armageddon created herself a dress to cover her more indecent parts, something the dragon wouldn't have cared about, but having only the memories of a former human, the thought of walking around like that was too much. Once dressed, she stepped outside. She stared up at the night sky. Even though she was technically just born, she found relief in being outside. Severus's long exile was finally over, and it was all thanks to her. Armageddon flew into the night, returning to the realm of man. Using her super intellect and the vast knowledge she inherited from Severus, she started to tear down the kingdoms in the realm of man, starting with the Grand Citadel where the archmages of this era were located. It took nearly 3 decades, which to Armageddon was over in the blink of an eye, but she managed to imprison all those who rebelled against her and destroy the descendants of the ones who sentenced her creator to a lifetime of suffering. Having avenged her creator, she now had her own desires to focus on. She had inherited her creator's craving for knowledge and had wanted to learn more. The bones that supplied her with life had come from another realm inaccessible to those in this realm. Who knows what that realm was like, but she was going to find out. She now had the ability to travel to that realm, so she left the realm of man in ruins and traveled to explore the unknown and the realm of her species. The realm of man would eventually rebuild, but having lost its knowledge of magic, most of the people were no longer even capable of casting it. Although magical knowledge was lost, they never forgot what Armageddon had done to them. The humans would write tons of books about her rampage and the wizard that created her, and someone even crafted a song, although over the decades the words were scrambled a bit, but the message remained the same. Armageddon is out there, and she's a super smart dragon that could come back at any time.
Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please consider leaving a like and subscribing. Also check out my Patreon and DeviantArt pages. There you can find all my public stories. You can also support my work by getting early access to all stories, exclusive content, and even commission me to make you a custom story. Anyways, thanks again for watching. I hope you have a great day.